Time has expired.
Time's expired.
They said my time has expired.
Order, please, members. Order, please. I see the Honourable Gillian. Order, please, members.
Honourable Speaker, abnormal situations has become normal for the people of the Western Cape. This is so shameful, Deputy Speaker. Are the people of the Western Cape so ignorant? Honourable Marcella, vee eers voor jou eie deur, voor jy voor ander mense se deure vee. You're talking about respect. What did your party do? When did the Honourable Premier and Speaker walk out of the National Assembly? These members were representing this House. En dan die ander ding is, Madam Speaker, let me rectify.
Order.
Let me rectify the notion that is put forward for this whole day in this House. Friday, the Speaker het besluit om die huis te sluit en te verdaag, nie die ANC nie.
Honourable Gillian, if I may address you. At the preamble, we agreed there will be no personal reflection on any member in this House.
She must sit while you address her. She must take the seat while you address her.
You may proceed, Honourable Gillian.
Because the Premier had to take a flight to Limpopo.
What is that about?
Madam Speaker, Honourable Bredial.
There's a point of order. Could you take your seat, please, Honourable Gillian?
Speaker, I think the members disregarding and disrespecting your rule. I think you must warn her now.
Thank you. You may proceed, Honourable Gillian. Thank you, Member Joseph.
Speaker, please protect me. I've got not a lot of time to speak here. The Honourable Bredial is a praise singer today for our late President of the African National Congress, Nelson Mandela. I'm very interested to know, where was the Honourable Bredial during apartheid? That he today is singing a praise for the same Mandela that army during apartheid was putting as enemy number one in this country. Madam Speaker.
Order, please, members. Order. ANC backbenchers, you have a member speaking on the floor, please.
The Freedom Charter states there shall be houses, security and comfort. This commitment was first incorporated in the South African Constitution in 1996, which makes provision for social assistance for people without any income. The ANC-led government has taken strides.
Honourable Gillian, order, please, Honourable Paulson. We have a member on the floor. Please. Honourable Gillian, you may
proceed. The ANC-led government has taken strides in fulfilling these commitments by widening the social security to alleviate poverty and hunger. We must therefore never underestimate what the ANC-led national government has done for the people of South Africa. I should start off by saying that the SOPA says absolutely nothing about social development and the very troubling daily realities of the lack of adequate and quality service to our people. The introduction of the new strategic goal 3 is not consistent with the general thrust of the NDP priorities. Strategic goal 3, increasing wellness, safety, and tackling
Order.
social ills. In fact, what the strategic goal seeks to do is the privatization of wellness, safety, and tackling social ills. In fact, the only place where non-profit organizations were mentioned was to deliver Wi-Fi. Increasingly, all we have seen is an attack on social society and a drastic reduction in funding to these organizations. Again, as part of this open opportunity society, we have seen a neutralization of civil society and its downsizing. This provincial government must know that it will not be able to achieve anything, strategic goals or not, if it does not enjoy the support and cooperation of a strong and vibrant civil society and community organizations, unless, of course, it wishes to perpetuate the notion of the survival of the fittest. This provincial government continues with its negative attack on the community and cultural organizations, such as the minstrels, who are the largest organized cultural grouping in this province. Instead of working with the minstrels,
Order, please, members.
we have seen continuous
Order.
attacks on them from this government. Youth development cannot be achieved through the youth cafes and the Crystalis Academy alone. These organizations are already struggling. The provincial government must listen to young people through their own organizations and forums in terms of what they want. In fact, SOPA reads as if it was written for the affluent suburbs. But then again, this is what privatization and open opportunities is all about. It ignores the lives, realities of people in our poor communities and townships. Alcohol abuse is addressed in SOPA as a safety threat rather than the social and economic threat that it is. Nothing is mentioned on drug abuse, fighting the
Order,
scourge
please.
which affect our young people and their development. Nothing of the elimination of the drop system on our farms and how our seniors will be cared for, supported, or what assistance will be given to those old persons who need to raise their grandchildren due to social and economic circumstances, the care of people with disabilities, childcare and protection. But then again, none of these are great concerns in the affluent suburbs, and therefore, one questions the very relevance of the SOPA. Poor families must cough up thousands of rands to send their children to rehab centers in order to give these young people a second chance to life. Most rehabs in this province is privatized, and it benefits only those who can pay. If you can't, you are condemned to a life cycle of substance abuse. MEC Fritz was at pains to explain the success rate of partner institutions such as Sultan Buha as the model institutions in fighting substance abuse. The National Drug Master Plan 2013-17
Order, please, members.
declares
Sorry, Honourable Gillian, there's a private conversation going on there. If I can call you to order, please, members. Allow Honourable Gillian to proceed. You may
the
proceed.
National Drug Master Plan 2013-17 declares that this Western Cape has the highest drug abuse in the country. 40% of drug patients indicate drug as a primary drug in the Western Cape. The Western Cape also, according to this plan, has the highest demand for drug rehab services, yet nothing in SOPA. These young people don't need youth
Order,
cafes,
please.
they need rehabilitation center. The National Development Plan, which the ANC national government has at its blueprint, but which the DA has supposedly supported, indicate 5 areas where social protection must be given. These are the protective measures which will safeguard the most vulnerable in our society. Preventative measures ensuring that people don't fall further into poverty. promotional approach that seeks to enhance the capabilities of communities, organizations, and people. Transformative in that it tackles inequalities and through redistribution measures, and developmental and generative in order to increase consumption and developing local economies. The state of the province says nothing about any of this and how it plans to implement the NDP, which this provincial government supposedly supports.
Honourable Gillian, you have a minute to go.
Okay.
Thank you. Order, please, members.
All the healthcare 2013 strategy will do, as opposed to Vision 2013, the NDP is to privatize more healthcare in this province. Madam Speaker, it's by time that this DA government pronounce on the NHI in this province. I thank you.
Thank you. I now see the Honourable Buerta.
Madam Speaker, I would firstly like
Order,
to
please,
remind
members.
the ANC
Order.
that all the people of the Western Cape have the right to democratic space, which allows for debate on significant issues that affect those who have elected us to represent them. It is clear that where the DA governs, we govern well. As much as it pains the opposition to admit, one cannot argue against tangible evidence. One cannot argue against visible change. And as the Honourable Premier noted in her State
Order,
of the Province
please, members.
address, any honest observer would accept that we have made good progress during our first term towards achieving a society in which people are able to use their freedom to improve their lives despite the many problems we face. Speaker, where the DA governs, we govern well because all role players are selected and equipped on a fit-for-purpose basis. The DA is committed to create a highly skilled, innovation-driven, resource-efficient, high-opportunity society for all. There is no better way to deliver this society for all in the Western Cape than through a fit-for-purpose management team, which is representative of the province population.
Order, please,
That said,
members.
I take this opportunity
Order.
to address.
Sorry, Honourable Buerta, there's just too much noise. Can we please afford the member an opportunity to speak? You may proceed.
I take this opportunity to address and to set the record straight with reference to a topic that the opposition has for a long time exploited in a bid to politicize issues that should rather be focused quantitatively and not simply by chasing numbers. As at January 2015, a breakdown of the Western Cape government senior
Paulson.
management, which includes salary levels 13 to 16, reveals that 61% of senior managers employed fall within the designated black group, including African, coloured and Indian men and women. A racial breakdown of the entire Western Cape administration, including teachers, shows that nearly 83% of employers fall within the designated black group. For the Honourable Fransman, the Presidency has also rated the
Order,
Western Cape
please.
as the best performing government out of all national and provincial governments when it comes to human resource management. And the last time I checked, Honourable Fransman, the Presidency is ANC. Madam Speaker, to further illustrate, I will refer to two of the largest departments within the Western Cape government, health and education. In the Department of Health, totaling 64 employees in senior management positions, 35 are filled by women, of which 3 are black, 13 are coloured, 1 is Indian and 18 are white. Of the 29 males, 2 are black, 10 are
please.
coloured, 3 are Indian and 14 are white. Senior management positions in the Western Cape Department of Education, including
Order,
educators,
please.
are
Honourable
filled by
Buerta.
243 males.
Thank you. If you don't mind, if I do interrupt you, the clock does stop. Please, can I ask the ANC backbenchers, if you don't mind, interjections are allowed, but you cannot do the running commentary. It prevents the speaker from actually fulfilling his or her role. Kindly, thank you. Honourable Buerta, you may proceed.
Senior management positions in the Western Cape Department of Education, including educators, are filled by 243 males and 142 females. Of the 243 males, 27 are black, 104 are colored, 14 are Indian, and 98 are white. Of the 142 females, 20 are black, 64 are colored, 6 are Indian, and 52 are white. To clarify even more, Speaker, I refer to the Department of Health in its entirety. With a total personnel of 31,105 employees, 8,894 posts are filled by males, while 22,211 are filled by females. Of the 8,894 male-filled posts, 2,342 are blacks, 4,832 are colored, 219 are Indians, and 1,501 are white. Of the 22,211 posts filled by females, 5,968 are black, 12,700.
Sorry, Honourable Fransman, thank you. You may proceed, Honourable Botha.
12,722 are colored, 334 are Indian, and 3,187 are whites. Madam Speaker, I sincerely hope that it is now clear to the ANC that the Western Cape government indeed is diverse in their staff component, and it does indeed represent the demographic structure of the Western Cape. Because personally, I hate labeling the human race into racial categories.
Order, please,
Another
members.
misconception,
Order.
Speaker.
Order. Honourable Gillian, is it a
Point of order, Madam Speaker. Is the word rubbish parliamentary?
I don't, I'm sorry, I was focusing on another group of members, so I don't know in what context rubbish was used.
The Premier was using the word, you are talking rubbish.
Sorry.
In that context.
Okay. Honourable Gillian, in terms of the context, that then becomes a debating point. I would need to go back to Hansard and then revert, but I don't know in what context. Like you say, the Premier said it was a statement.
Speaker.
You have a member on the floor, Honourable Fransman. Member Gillian, have you finished?
Speaker, the point was that in the interjection of the Honourable Speaker that was busy, I said it was 72% management is white in the province. The Premier then said that's rubbish. Now I think, can we ask you to rule on the matter?
Sorry, Honourable Fransman, it is not, members, order please. It is not for me to adjudicate on statements that are made by the members. I cannot prove whether a member is saying 72% or 80%. So, as I said, I will refer to Hansard. And the reference of rubbish was not made to a person, it was made in a statement. So it comes down to the same as saying you are talking nonsense. Sorry if that's I suppose you could say rubbish if nonsense was allowed. Sorry.
We introduced the word rubbish in the debate.
Honourable Fransman, your point of order is taken. I will... Sorry. Okay. Sorry. Member Gillian's on the floor. Chief Whip Wiley.
Madam Speaker, I really call upon you to take this House forward. I raise on a point of order.
You did?
And the use of the word rubbish. The question is it parliamentary or not?
Okay. Honourable Gillian, hold on please, Honourable Wiley. In terms of the way the statement was made, it was made as a statement and not directed at an individual, hence it cannot be deemed to be unparliamentary. That is the ruling. Thank you. Honourable Chief Whip Wiley.
I reiterate what the Honourable Member Gillian has just said. Can we move forward now, please? You have already ruled on the matter.
Thank you. Members, order, please. Order, please. Members, context is always the factor when considering the use of words. It is difficult for me to sit here and judge on the use of words. One needs to consider the context. So can we move on and allow the Honourable Burter to continue? Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker.
Order,
What
please.
time do I have left, please?
Table.
What time? How much time do I have?
You still have 4 minutes left to speak. When you were interrupted, the clock was stopped and the table staff managed that. Thank you.
Thanks, Speaker. Another misconception, Speaker, that should be clarified is the Western Cape Government's objection to the draft Employment Equity Regulations 2014. Opposition parties have again exploited this issue in terms of politicizing a situation and subsequently losing focus of the real qualitative implications for the people of this province. Part D of the draft Employment Equity Regulations translate to unfair discrimination. It is unconstitutional and therefore unlawful. Speaker, the enforcement of draft Regulation 3 would result in coloured people in the Western Cape and Northern Cape and Indian people in KwaZulu-Natal being denied employment and promotion opportunities within their respective provinces. Consequently, this will mean that in the Western Cape, no coloured person in the administration would be able to gain a promotion into management for at least the next 15 years.
Members.
This is what the ANC government is pushing for, and the DA-led government will not allow this to happen within this Western Cape.
Order,
The crux
please,
of the matter
members.
is that the national ANC government, as well as ANC members of this House, deems it appropriate to use the national population as a guideline to impose employment equity regulations for a totally different demographic structure in the Western Cape. The pursuit of narrow demographic representativity through an engineered and rigidly quantitative approach, rather than the promotion of broad and equitable representation through balanced qualitative approach to employment equity, will reinforce some of the current poor national policy outcomes. Madam Speaker, as mentioned by the Honourable Bradell, of what was said by the then National General of Labour and ANC government spokesperson at the time, Jimmy Mani, that the Western Cape has too many coloured people and they should move elsewhere. I then asked the question, how is this rhetoric any different from that of apartheid?
Order,
How
please,
is
members.
this reasoning any different?
Speaker, their right to say rubbish is fine. But I can understand their attention span with the length of this debate is exhausted. So if they could just concentrate for another 20 minutes, please.
Noted. Thank you. Order, please, members. Order. Honourable Burter, you may proceed. Members
ask the
across the
question,
benches,
Speaker.
can I please appeal to you to just calm it down a little? There's too much noise in the chamber, please. Excuse me?
There's a lot of noise
Sorry.
because of the speaker.
What are you saying, Honourable Diana?
Okubungekho bingekho inoise awunqandi.
What is that? Okay. Member Diana, I've had the interpretation from the table staff, and you're deemed completely out of order to say that it is because of me that there is noise in the House. So I'm going to appeal to you to withdraw your statement, please.
Oh, it's my duty uba mandithethe into endifuna uyithetha kaloku. Wena yiduty awusiniki direction wena speaker. Usenza apha singabi na order. Nguwe yenza kungabikho order. Funda rule
Honourable
41.
Diana, you are out of order. You need to withdraw, please. I'm asking you to withdraw your statement. You are deemed out of order. Honourable Paulson. excuse me.
Speaker, the Chief Whip has just said that the people on this side of the House have a short attention span. I find that very offensive. It really is. What is he saying? Because there are mainly black people on this side that have short attention span.
Honourable Paulson, that is not a point of
No,
order.
the Speaker, it is very offensive, and I know that you wouldn't understand, and neither would Mr. But it is very offensive to tell black people that they have a short attention span. Is he going to withdraw it or not? Are you going to make him withdraw it?
I will speak to Honourable Wiley. Take your seat, please. Honourable Wiley, did you indeed say that did you indeed make that statement? That Honourable Paulson has alluded to? Honourable Paulson has alluded to you making a statement, Honourable Wiley. Have you made the statement?
I rose on a point of order just now, and I spoke to you directly. Yeah.
Honourable Wiley, can you please withdraw your statement if it was meant at the members across the floor?
In the order, keep good order, yes, I withdraw.
Thank you, Honourable Wiley. We may proceed. Order, please, members. Can we move on now?
Speaker, Jimmy Mani said that the Western Cape has too many coloured people and they should move elsewhere. I then asked the question, how is this rhetoric any different from that of apartheid? How is this reasoning any different from the Group Areas Act? What stops Mani ideologies within the ANC from reverting to some form of the Immorality Act in an attempt to curb coloured births in the Western Cape? This is a case for serious concern, Madam Speaker, because judging from the ANC's behaviour as of late, they are steering our beloved country in the wrong direction. So people of the Western Cape who still vote for the ANC, wake up and pay attention. The ANC is moving you from your province of birth. Madam Speaker, although there is much space for improvement, the DA-led government has again proven that the state of the province is way ahead of any other province. And we have the Public Service Commission reports and MPAT reports to vouch for this. The DA commends the Western Cape government for its achievements attained
Honourable
and challenges
Paulson,
faced
order, please.
this past year and this term as a whole. We fully support the vision prescribed in the Premier's State of the Province address. We are disheartened that the ANC did not allow the people of this province to hear about the exciting initiatives the Western Cape DA-led government is launching in order to create an open opportunity society for all. I thank you, Speaker.
Thank you. Honourable Fransman.
Speaker, on the point that Honourable Member Botha, and I want in the same vein as you gave a ruling earlier on the Premier around the misleading part, in the same way I want you to actually look at what Honourable Botha said, and that said that the ANC is pushing people of the Western Cape out of this province, and you must make a determinant factor. No, I'm asking now, in the same spirit that the Premier has raised, and you've made a ruling that you'll look into it, that she has deliberately misled the House on that. I want you to rule on that matter as well.
Honourable Fransman.
I'm not asking now
Thank
for
you.
it, I'm asking you to look into it.
Member Wiley, please take your seat. Please take your seat, Honourable Wiley. Member Fransman, I have heard your point of order. I will refer to Hansard and revert to the House.
I'm sorry, Honourable Speaker, on a point of order. Honourable Fransman is saying that she has deliberately misled, and that point must be withdrawn, please.
Sorry? Honourable Fransman, I've consulted with my table staff. Did you use the word deliberately mislead?
Speaker, I've said, in the context of what you said, the
Yeah,
word
but we're talking
deliberate,
about the
the word
specific
deliberate,
matter.
the word deliberate, I withdraw. I'm saying mislead.
So you withdraw the word deliberate?
And I'm saying misleading, and that's
Okay.
what you need to look
And
at.
I will follow up on that. Thank you. I now see the Honourable Minister of Transport and Public Works, Honourable Donald Grant.
Speaker, Sir Ernest Benn,
Members,
the
order,
prolific
please.
Liberal writer.
Order, please, members.
Speaker, Sir Ernest Benn, the prolific Liberal writer about politics and an uncle of Tony Benn, the British politician, is remembered for saying that often politics is the art of looking for trouble, finding whether it exists or not, diagnosing it incorrectly, and applying the wrong remedy. It seems to me that the ANC has done exactly this about a number of issues in the House today. In the short time available to me, I should like to address two of these issues in the House. The first of these is the ongoing identification of racism in relation to any issue in the province. At every possible opportunity and in response to any set of circumstances, the ANC plays the race card. When a party such as the ANC has little to offer in terms of positive, workable solutions, anything which will take attention away from its abysmal track record is, of course, better than the facts. Speaker, the facts do not reflect well on the ANC in this province or nationally. Minister Bradell has already attested to that fact. And so, according to the ANC, everyone else and everything else everyone does is racist. And Speaker, the emptiness of this argument does not stand up to any examination. As part of its standard racism accusation, the ANC likes to claim that this government does not award sufficient business opportunities in the form of tenders to undertakings representative of previously disadvantaged people. Of course, the facts, when supplied to this House and to its oversight structures such as the relevant standing committees and SCOPA itself, simply do not support these accusations. But the ANC is not going to allow the facts to spoil what is for it a good story. Who knows? If you only repeat the story often enough, people may even believe you. Speaker, before I once again unpack the facts for my department before this House, allow me a few minutes to sketch the bigger picture of tenders awarded for the province over a whole number of years. In the 5 completed budget cycles before the DA was elected by the people of the Western Cape to form the government of this province, the figures for tenders awarded in this province are as follows. Total 9.749 billion. Average per year, I'll come to Philcon. Average per year, 1.949 billion. In the 4 completed budget cycles since the DA became the government of the Western Cape, the figures for the tenders awarded are a total of 14.818 billion. No, it's not rubbish, it's the fact. An increase of 5 billion in a period of only 4 years. So the average under the DA administration is 3.704 billion, nearly double the ANC average in that shorter period. However, Speaker, this can quite rightly be seen as a function of greater efficiency on the part of the DA government, the growth in the size of overall budgets, and more accurate data management by the present government. If this were a debate about economic growth, these figures would be significant on their own. However, I'm dealing with the repetitive accusations of racism. So the real test in dealing with the ANC's accusations of racism in the allocation of these resources and opportunities is to be found in an analysis of the awarding of the contracts which were in fact adjudicated. This analysis reveals the following. Under the ANC's governance, the 5-year cycle of the average value of 1.959 billion per year, the split between HDIs, the basis used in the period up to the introduction of the BBBEE regulations, and non-HDIs, was 909 million to HDIs and 1.039 billion to non-HDIs. Let me repeat it. 909 million to HDIs and 1.039 billion to non-HDIs. Speaker, the ANC government of this province awarded more value to the non-HDIs than to the HDIs. In fact, only 46% to the HDIs and 54% to the non-HDIs. And now, under the DA government, in the 4 years of the completed cycle, while the HDI basis was still in place, our government allocated over 90% of the tenders to HDI companies and under 10% to non-HDI companies. So where is the racism? Since the introduction of the triple BEE, this allocation in favor of BBBE companies has been maintained. Speaker, the facts are there for all to see. Well, they are there at least for those who want to see. The DA government has consistently supported HDIs and triple BEE companies. How racist is that? To reinforce the argument without repeating all the details, let me give you the similar hard information drawn from the tenders awarded within the Department of Transport and Public Works. In the financial year 2013-14, the DTBW awarded tenders to the value of 3.115 billion to triple BEE companies, nearly 6 times the value awarded to HDIs in the last full year in which the ANC were in government in the Western Cape. Compare that to the 46% allocated to HDIs by the ANC during their term of office. These figures, Speaker, Deputy Speaker, simply do not support the repeated accusations of racism. Speaker, the second issue I wish to address today is that of Philcon. This is indeed an example of the ANC looking for trouble where it simply does not exist. At some stage, the ANC has to stop flogging what is clearly a dead horse. And in fact, after the standing committee, I wandered over to the Honourable Doug Moore and I took him a bet and I said, bet me anything you want. You name the bet. He has been remarkably silent. I would be very happy to take him any bet on Philcon. In August of last year, I responded to a question from member Doug Moore concerning the persons listed as directors of the company. I made it very clear that all these persons were investigated and that no director had any finding or conviction against him or her by a South African court of law at the time of the conclusion of that contract. Also, no director appeared on the National Treasury Register of Tender Defaulters or the list of restricted suppliers. Checks were done on all required data sets, including the Western Cape Supplier Database, the Register of Contractors, the Register of Projects which record poor performance, SARS, Companies and Intellectual Property Commission. In addition, all due diligence and risk assessments were performed. I must add that as the schools to be built form part of the national level ACD project, the Department of Basic Education formed part of all adjudicating structures in the awarding of the contract. A new contract, Deputy Speaker, has been signed and all 3 sites are back on track. The projected completion date is August of this year, QED. In conclusion, Deputy Speaker, in the theme of follow the money, 8 questions were posed by the former Minister Carlisle of Transport and Public Works in February 2011, more than 4 years ago, to the Leader of the Opposition, and I'm delighted he's returned to the chamber. More than 4 years later, there has been an ongoing, deafening silence to these 8 questions. So, Deputy Speaker, unlike the EFF in the National Assembly who say, pay back the money, I'm saying to the Honourable Leader of the Opposition, please answer the questions.
Thank you, Minister. Your time has expired. Honourable Minister Planter.
Honourable Deputy Speaker, thank you very much for this opportunity. Speaker, the Premier details in his speech why and how we need to ensure that we create jobs and grow the economy in the Western Cape. Strategic Goal 1 and Strategic Goal 2 aims to improving education outcomes and opportunities for youth development. Feeds into this through ensuring that our learners complete their education to study and work towards a career and future they value. For our youth to be economically active and participating citizens. As young adults, they need to be allowed to acquire and develop the necessary skills. For some people, this is fairly easy progression from an early childhood development center to a primary school, a high school, and if they so wish, a college or university before they enter the job market. For some in our province, Deputy Speaker, the path is far more complicating, riddled with dangers and threatening realities, issues such as poverty, gangsterism, crime, and drugs, prohibiting them from even considering any alternative future. Honourable Speaker, we cannot allow a generation of youth to miss out on existing opportunities, both from the public and the private sector, which will empower them to improve their own lives and the lives of their families. The Department of Community Safety understands the necessity for youth to be safe and to have access to opportunities and development at safe venues. That is why our interventions and meaningful partnerships across the board seek to help communities create safer environments and for the youth to have safe alternatives available to them. Honourable Speaker, Premier Zille mentioned that we will be formalising our youth safety partnership with some of our FET colleges, and in this case specifically Northlink College. This partnership has already provided more than 2,000 study opportunities to youth at risk through Northlink's bursary program. Since the beginning of 2015, the Department of Community Safety has embarked on numerous youth-focused safety outreaches in many communities. This outreach program aims to ensure that our younger residents who are unemployed and not studying and return to school pursue further education or training, work towards careers, and have all the information they need to make responsible choices and not fall victim to negative social behavior like drugs and gangsterism. We have already visited Manenberg, Tafelsig, Nyanga, Scottsdene, and other areas, accompanied by the Departments of Education and Social Development, all with the aim, Speaker, of reaching out to a particular community and assisting them with their immediate safety concerns. The outreach also serves as an interpersonal platform where government can inform communities about the various programs that exist within the Department of Community Safety to create safer communities, as well as a basket of services available to the public from the Western Cape government as a whole. In one sector of Nyanga last week, Speaker, alone, we managed to engage with more than 300 youth on their safety concerns and took the particulars of more than 200 youth to assist them in applying for bursaries. This is the intervention that the Premier is talking about. Speaker, in our effort to increase safety in our communities, we have expanded the Youth Safety and Religious Organisation Partnership across the province. Premier Zille highlighted the more than 17,000 young people who have participated in this program during the December 2014 holiday period alone. This program is currently in its third year and sees the Department of Community Safety partner with a religious fraternity in the Western Cape to target youth between the ages of 14 and 21 in 50 different areas across the province during the school holidays when these youth are most at risk of falling prey to negative social behavior like drug abuse and gangsterism. Programs and activities on offer focus on awareness and prevention of drug abuse, gangsterism, gender-based violence, child trafficking, HIV/AIDS, teenage pregnancy, and provide our youngsters with life skills development and practical safety tips. The different sports, drama, and cultural activities, Speaker, motivational talks at youth development of the YSRP, co-produces conditions best suited for the youth to feel safer during the festive season, to involve youth in positive and constructive activities conducted by the religious fraternity, as well as to enhance the level of active citizenship within high-risk communities. The Department of Community Safety also welcomes Premier Zille's mention of the different safety officers being employed through our partnership with the City of Cape Town into our communities through the School Resource Officers and Stabilization Unit. The Department of Community Safety understands that in order for learners to feel safe at school and to restore safety in communities under specific threat of violence, we need to have visible and preventative law enforcement officers at hand who can diffuse the situation. This aids as visible safety support and subsequently frees up the police to make arrests and to investigate the offences and help ensure proper convictions in a court of law. 30 school resource officers, Speaker, will be deployed at schools in the City of Cape Town Metro, and 90 law enforcement auxiliary officers will be deployed in communities where there are spikes in gang violence. This is a partnership between the city and the department. Honourable Speaker, the department also builds meaningful partnership to create safer environments for the community as a whole, not only for the youth. Our dedicated safety partners in communities remain the neighbourhood watches and the community policing forums. Our eyes and ears on the ground. This is a partnership which relies on and includes the cooperation with the South African Police Services, and I'm grateful for the many dedicated and hardworking police officers and station commanders who work tirelessly in their communities and who partner with us in our efforts. However, more often than not, our communities need more than just eyes and ears on the ground. They need the assistance of officers and visible safety mechanisms to help them create a safer environment. Police stations are sometimes not located in areas which are easily accessible to all communities. To date, the Department of Community Safety have provided 20 safety kiosks to address this reality, with a core objective to serve as a link between the police station, private security providers, neighbourhood watches, and CPFs, and the community. Premier Zille's announcement that 40 safety kiosks, in addition to the existing 20 that have been deployed across the province, will be made available to assist in existing efforts to create safer communities and to address the need in our communities. That is welcome. These kiosks offer a visible, safer access point in high-risk areas as an incubator for cooperation between all safety role players, services available to the community, and members of the community themselves. Honourable Speaker, the Department of Community Safety will continue to provide the safety services of excellence which the people of the Western Cape have come to expect of us. Among these services are the court watching briefs, a first in South Africa, which is helping to ensure that police inefficiencies hampering court procedures with regard to convictions and prosecutions is sufficiently addressed by SAPS and contributes to a better quality of policing in the province. Speaker, our team of legal experts and standing partnership with postgraduate law students supervised by a senior advocate monitors court cases to identify the problems, why certain cases result in failure to secure convictions. We are all humans and we all make mistakes, but an error on the part of SAPS in submitting all the necessary information in the correct manner, Speaker, to the courts could lead to criminals being back on the streets, to a victim left without justice. And that is exactly what is happening. So far, 71 cases of policing failure have been reported to the Provincial SAPS management, with 44% of these cases reinstated on the court roll for perpetrators to face their day in court. Honourable Speaker, it needs to be made crystal clear
Honourable
that,
Minister, your time is unfortunately expired now.
that the Western Cape government is intent on ensuring that SAPS provide a quality service to the
Please
people
take
of
your
this
seat, Minister.
province.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Speaker.
Honourable Magaka.
Speaker, let me preface my contribution by putting things into perspective. We are not all opportunists. We can't be moving from one party to another looking for political office. Some of us are principled revolutionaries who have a responsibility to transform our society from white minority regime to the majority for the benefit of our people. That must be clear to those opportunists who move from the ANC to UDM to the DA, whom I expect to see them in the IFP sometime. Honourable Speaker,
Order.
at its core, the DA has built its existence around claims of ANC incompetence and corruption, and counterpose this with claims of DA's competence in the governance of the Western Cape. The Premier State of the Province address was very much in line with this misleading narrative. You know, I think the DA learned a lot from the Nazi Party propagandist, Joseph Goebbels, who insisted that if you continue making lies, those lies will convince people to be truth. Let me start by debunking. I helped you with the quotation so that you know I don't plagiarize, I give the person. Let me start by debunking this myth about the DA's governance in the Western Cape.
Order.
The Premier has made misleading claims about the Western Cape and takes credit for developments in the Western Cape that long preceded her administration. She uses selective time periods and indicators and misrepresents what other organizations say about their administration policies. The Premier selectively uses the broad unemployment rate to claim that the Western Cape has the lowest unemployment rate in the country. The DA's figures, let's go to the fact because we must not fall to that trap of Goebbels. The DA's 12% figure apparently refers to the less commonly used indicator of broad unemployment, which includes people who want a job but are not actively seeking one. By this measure, the Western Cape has had this lowest unemployment rate in the country since 1990s. That is even before the DA took office. It reflects the province's relatively privileged position before 1994, not the achievement of the DA. We cannot even claim that victory as an African National Congress. We don't claim easy victories. You know, the Premier claims that the Western Cape is the fastest growing economy. Madam Speaker, Chairperson, from 2009 to 2012, Gauteng's economy grew 3.6% a year, and KwaZulu-Natal by 3.4%. In contrast, the economy of the Western Cape grew just 3.3% a year. Under the ANC administration, this must be said loudly so that the Premier can understand these facts objectively so. Under the ANC administration, from 2004 to 2009, the Western Cape enjoyed the fastest growth in the country at 4.2% a year. That must be understood. That's the truth because it's facts. In education, the Premier selectively quotes the increase in the pass rate of the Metro East District, ignoring the disastrous outcomes in education since she took office in 2009. Under ANC rule, under ANC government, the Western Cape was the top-ranked province in matric results. In 2013, under their own government, it ranked only 4th until today. According to the General Household Survey, the dropout rate for black youth aged 16 to 18 in the province in 2012 was 21% compared to 13% of the rest of the country. And while Gauteng, 12.5% of young people aged 18 to 30 were attending a university or college, in the Western Cape, in the same period, the figure only 8%. The Premier mentioned, you have to go and look for another scapegoat. You have to go, because you are a propagandist, you have to go to look another scapegoats. You know, the Premier mentioned the rollout of e-learning and the introduction of smart classrooms. You should be applauding Gauteng for helping you to understand that there is that kind of an approach. We have been made to believe that the Western Cape has the highest proportion of households receiving free basic services. Even 20 years ago, the Western Cape had the greatest access to water and electricity in the country, a position it has since maintained. Since 2009, however, the DA has not increased the share of households with these services, and the backlog still falls mostly heavily on African communities. This shows how the Premier misleads the people of the Western Cape through selectively quoting statistics and claiming past ANC victories. You have to stop doing that. This shows we must remind the Premier of the words of Amilcar Cabral. Tell no lies. Claim no easy victories. It will help you because it will liberate you to acknowledge the facts. Otherwise, if you mislead yourself about the facts, you won't improve anything. In her SOPA, the Premier states that...
Order, member. Honourable Mr. the Chief Whip.
Mr. Speaker, will the Honourable Member for the South African Communist Party take a question?
Honourable Gaka, will you take a question?
I will invite him to come here and then you deal with it.
The answer seems to be no.
There's an ANC, there's an ANC MPL here.
Please continue.
In her SOPA, the Premier states that, I quote, they are working day and night to build an inclusive society that eradicates the legacy of apartheid, close quote. It is puzzling that the Premier version of building an all-inclusive society to eradicate the legacy of apartheid by maintaining the spatial and economic and social structure of apartheid. DA reinforces Apartheid Group Areas Act and other segregationist practices on a daily basis. I want to make a clear example. When an innocent colored woman was attacked by a white swimming instructor, who told her when she was attacking her, she closed her to go to Mitchell's Plain. It's because they know that Africans and colored stay in Mitchell's Plain, Kailicha. That is the education they got from the DA. It is the planning the DA is inculcating. It has to be acknowledged within a period. It has to be acknowledged within a period less than 6 months. 5 cases of racial attacks on black innocent people were reported in the metro, in the southern suburb, Nohan. This is an area is known to be historically a liberal stronghold and a home of the current DA leader. This is the living testimony that liberalism of Helen Suzman was never genuinely opposed to racism of National Party fundamentally, but differed with it only tactically. These racial attacks took place after our Madam Premier launched a vicious onslaught on black people in this province, telling them that they are refugees from Eastern Cape who ran away. This was a launch. This was a launch of this attack, because all these attacks on black people happened after those words were uttered by the Premier. You know, therefore the Premier launched this physical attack on us. He has to apologize to the families of those people because he has provoked that anger from the white communities.
Order, Honourable Member. Please take your seat.
On a point of order, the Deputy Speaker, the Honourable Member Mgaka said the Premier launched an attack. Now, a physical attack. Now, that is a direct accusation of assault against the Premier.
Was that the actual word?
Listening is a skill.
Did the Honourable Member say
I never said that.
I will check the
I never said that.
Honourable Member, order. Order. I will refer to Hansard. For the moment, you can continue, but I will come back if necessary.
The current forced removal of mainly coloured residents in Plumstead in order to provide my city route for residents of Constantia who do not need public transport. It is also an indication to this bourgeois party's segregation policy. You know, because swayani bahamba abantu abafuna uhamba apha makusuka abantu balapha siyasuswa pha for the benefit of white elite. The DA does not think twice about destroying working class livelihood for the convenience of its core constituency of rich white middle class. A woman had to resign from her job because she could no longer afford public transport after having been forcibly removed from her home in Wynberg. Devastating fires in summer and terrible flooding in winter continue to destroy the livelihood of the poor. And this extreme conservative DA-led Western Cape government is treating this crisis as a normal, acceptable situation. It's an acceptable situation that people in Philippi, Langa, in Joe Slovo, within one evening, they lost hundreds of their houses. It's a normal thing. It's a normal thing. And it happened every year under your foot nose. The Premier's SOPA.
Order.
20 years in our democracy, the Premier is still saying in her SOPA statement, is saying that there still has to have a pilot program for integration. 20 years. You still tell us that you don't have a plan, you have not implemented this, you still have to try to do it. We have done that. We have done that. The Premier was silent on issues affecting the poor and the vulnerable. What is the plan for local government? The Premier didn't say anything about the local government. And I know what. And I feel pity for Honourable Anthony Briel, because the reason that the Premier didn't say anything, including good things in that department, is precisely because she belonged to another faction within the DA. And it's the faction that she doesn't want to see.
Your time has expired, Honourable Member. I've said it twice now. I see the Honourable Windy, Minister Windy.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. You know, Deputy Speaker, I'm the last speaker in this debate before supper, and the Premier answers it. And normally this job is a sweeping job, but today, what was delivered in this House, it doesn't leave me much to sweep. And you know, I started off by writing some notes, and I was going to come to this House with my speech headed half-truths, lies, and no leadership. And then the Honourable Fransman stood up today, and he started off by saying, we commit ourselves to building a democratic society. And then I wanted to change the heading of my speech to an absolute joke, because he obviously wasn't all here on Friday. Because what he said here today was in exact contradiction of what happened on Friday. I've served in this House for similar time to that honourable member, the Leader of the Opposition. We joined this House at about the same time 16 years ago. And you know that on Friday, this House sunk to the lowest of the low. I had never, ever seen people abusing the rules of a House like they were abusing the rules of this House on Friday. It was
Order.
absolutely shocking and disgusting. And you know why that happened? Because there was zero leadership. Zero leadership, Mr. Speaker. And then intermingled with that zero leadership, there was no honor, there was no value coming from that side of the House. They lost it. And they took this House, in my opinion, a step too far. And it was interesting to see how they tried to claw back today, but in trying to claw back, that's where it becomes the joke, because there is no integrity in that clawing back. And you know why they tried to claw back today? Because as I was going to head this speech, half-truths, lies, and no leadership, it's because of the no leadership, because of the half-truths and the lies. So I say here today, as I stand here and thinking back on Friday, I think about when the Honourable Fransman stood up and he said, "Speaker, on a point of order, I have just received information that the feed has been cut." Now I ask the Honourable Member, was that the truth? Did he receive that message that the feed was cut? Because if he received the message that the feed was cut, then the person who fed him that message was lying. If he did not receive a real message, we had to see that SMS. And let's see who that SMS came from. I have a very good idea, because the Honourable Fransman must understand that there are people in the gallery right behind him. And they were watching his messages. So it's from either him or one other person. So who is lying, Mr. Deputy Speaker? Who is lying? In this House, there was absolutely no leadership. And you heard from members of this side of the House talking, and they were reflecting on what happened over the weekend post the behavior of the ANC in this House. And what did happen? If you followed social media, if you followed the press, if you followed discussions that were happening with people in society, and specifically people who belonged in the past to the ANC, there is a lot of truth in where they were going on Friday. They would be lucky to bring 2 members back to this House in the next election. They would be very, very lucky. Because, Mr. Deputy Speaker...
Order.
Because, Mr. Deputy Speaker, to get into this House, you need votes. And political parties need integrity, they need values, and they need leadership to be able to get to those votes. And so let's have a look at what happened to the DA in this House when we were elected 6 years ago. We were elected with 51% of the vote. And in the last election, just last year, the voters in this province brought us back with 60% of the vote. What happened to the ANC? Let's have a look at their track record. Let's look at their track record, and we go back and see what's happened to the ANC in this province in the last 10 years. So let's have a look. At 10 years ago, they got 709,000 votes.
Order.
709,000 votes.
Order, Minister. Honourable Makaleni, please. You're making comments all the time.
Which equated, Speaker, to 45%. You ask for the percentage. Last year, they took that down with the leadership that were brought into question last week. That same leadership took that vote down to 32%, 697,000 votes. In a province that has grown by 45%, and we started talking about numbers, and I'm going to get to some of the numbers raised by the Honourable Dugmore. We'll get to these numbers now, because it's about leadership, Mr. Deputy Speaker, and perhaps while we have got the leadership here, because by the end of the month I have a strong feeling that the ANC are going to replace this leadership, but while this leadership is here, we need to ask them 1 or 2 questions. What happened to the money that you're protecting now that went to the minstrels? What happened to that money? Follow that money, and you will find a lot of answers to a lot of questions. There are a lot of people out there, who play a very important part in the culture of this region, who are also wondering what happened to the money. They want to know what happened to that money. While we're talking about the money, Mr. Deputy Speaker, what happened to the money that you owe the CTICC when you were elected to the leadership of this party? Have you paid that yet? Have you paid that yet? This is the SOPA, and that is a state-owned entity by the city, and that money is owed to the people of this province. The people of this province.
Order.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, under the leadership of this leader of the opposition, who seems to hold very dubious relations with some very strange bedfellows in this province. If we want to talk about brand, I mean, this man has got a very weak brand. What happened to the leadership when the ANC decided...
Order. I'm not going to appeal to the backbench of the ANC again.
When the ANC decided
Please
in their
refrain
wisdom...
from making comments all the time. Minister, please continue.
When the ANC decided in their wisdom to take back the Western Cape by holding their 103rd birthday here. Well, it was great for them to do it here because a lot of our businesses benefited greatly. There was lots of money spent in our restaurants, and we welcomed people from across our country to come to this city while they celebrated their 103rd birthday. But what came out of that? Disorganization by a region where they couldn't even organize enough people from
Minister,
this
just 1
region.
second. Is that a question?
Speaker, if a member is
Order.
referring
Is it a point
to
of
another, it's a point of order.
I'm listening.
A member is referring directly personal to the member that is having a particular relationship with dubious people. Is it parliamentary?
I did not hear anything. I did not.
Well, if I can address you, Speaker, Deputy Speaker, when we started, we were cautioned about personal
Yes,
attack
I'm aware
on a
of that.
member in this legislature. And if it's not a personal attack, then there's nothing called personal attack.
I will carefully look at the Hansard. If there's any personal attack involved there, I will come back and rule against it. Minister, you may continue.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, I won't use any names. Safe to say perhaps some of these headlines about mudflies over ANC VIP gangster guest and ANC in bed with gangsters and gangster VIP guest at Zuma rally. But I'm not going to refer to individual members. I'm sure you all read that.
Order. Honourable Dugmore.
Can I just ask whether your ruling remains? If one looks at the President's set and the appeal made by the Speaker at the beginning of this House this afternoon.
That definitely is the case.
And then, but the Honourable Windy appears to be simply continuing.
His last references were to the ANC, not to a specific member. So in that respect, the Minister can continue.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. Deputy Speaker, perhaps as I end off on that last point, is that we really did welcome the ANC here in the city of Cape Town to come and celebrate their 103rd birthday. It was quite disturbing that to fill the stadium, they had to bring in so many buses from so many other parts of the country. But in actual fact...
Order. 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 Please come to order. Please continue, Minister Winde.
I've had questions of whether we're debating SOPA. We're actually debating the state of our province.
Honourable Olivier, Honourable Makaleni, Honourable Diana, I'm not going to ask again that you three specifically contain yourselves. Please continue, Minister.
Speaker, Deputy Speaker, I trust that you're going to be generous with my time, considering all these...
Your time will be fair.
So if I can just finish that point. It was very good for the economy, but it did more so for us as a region because suddenly there were a whole lot of people coming to our province from other provinces. And when you spoke to them and I interacted with them, they were saying, so it's actually true. This place is clean. This place is well run. There are no potholes. It was a real good exercise in selling good DA government. But, Deputy Speaker, I move on. And I move on to talk about some of the numbers that we have been stating in this House for a while, and specifically the job numbers. And it became quite evident as people were quoting numbers in this House that they were quoting numbers from the Honourable Patel's speech in the National Assembly. as well as some other numbers which were very selective. So perhaps what I'll do is I will come back on some of those job numbers. So, no.
Order. Order, Minister.
Mr. Deputy Speaker. No.
Order. What is that a point of order?
Is it unparliamentary to say a member is speaking? No. Is it parliamentary to say a member is speaking rubbish? I can understand when you say it's rubbish what he's saying, but you can't say a member is speaking rubbish.
Minister, you're making it awfully difficult for the chair. We're trying to make order. We're trying to make progress here. Rubbish as a word has been used, has been ruled unparliamentary before and also parliamentary. In the circumstances, I'm going to rule that rubbish is okay for the moment and the minister must continue.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. Now, if you remember some of the numbers that were mentioned, and when we were talking about broad and narrow unemployment rate, do you know it's quite interesting?
Order. We can't allow all the interjections while the minister is trying to speak. Please come to order. I'm speaking to everybody. Please come to order, House. Honourable Willifield, while I'm speaking, I want you to be quiet. Minister, please continue.
It's quite interesting when we start to talk about numbers and statistics. And, you know, in this House, some people use these numbers in very economical ways. So for example, when if you look at Stats South Africa, if you look at the unemployment rate in Limpopo, so what do you think the unemployment? What do you think the unemployment rate? What do you think the unemployment rate in Limpopo is? The unemployment rate, narrow definition in Limpopo is 15.9%.
Order. Mr. Wiley, I'm busy ruling here. Honourable Willifield and Honourable Makaleni, this is your... Was it not you? It was probably Honourable Davids. I couldn't see properly. Those two of you, I'm giving you a final warning now. If you don't contain yourselves, I'm going to ask you to leave the chamber. Please continue, Minister.
So the narrow unemployment rate in Limpopo is 15.9%. Now, 15.9%, I mean, we would all really sincerely wish that that were true. We wish that that were true. 15.9%. But you know what the problem is here, Mr. Deputy Speaker, is when we want to use narrow or broad. And actually, broad is the real unemployment rate. Because when people stop looking for work, we don't measure them anymore. So at the moment, where we agree, the unemployment rate of 24.5% in the Western Cape is far too high. It is way too high. We've got an economic system in our country, we've got economic policies in our country which are driving that number higher and higher. And in South Africa, our unemployment rate is 43.46%. But you know what? The people that have given up looking for work, in this province, there are 22,000 people who have given up looking for work. Given up. They do not look for work anymore. 22,000. That's on top of the 560,000 people who are looking for work. But you know what, Speaker? Where we've got 15.9% as the unemployment rate in Limpopo, guess how many people have given up looking for work in Limpopo? They've given up hope. 403,000. In KwaZulu-Natal, 616,000. In Gauteng, 397,000 have given up looking for work, while 22,000 in this province, and that's 22,000 too many, because we need to keep the broad and narrow as close to each other as possible. You should be totally embarrassed, and when you come here and quote numbers, stop quoting them selectively. Read the document and don't read Patel's document, because he doesn't know what he's talking about. Minister Patel has been the Minister of Economic Development in this country for 5 years. What has he done? I'll tell you what he's done. I'll tell you what he's done, Mr. Deputy Speaker. What he has done...
Order. I'm listening, Honourable Janki. Point of order, a question.
A question.
Minister, are you prepared to take a question?
Actually, two questions.
You can ask one question.
Okay. Yeah.
Honourable Janki, one short, concise question.
Just a question to the Speaker. Does the Honourable MEC know that whilst he's mentioning the Western Cape 24% unemployment rate, that as we speak today, Kailicha's unemployment rate is 45%. Does the Minister know?
Thank you. That is a question. Minister can reply if he wants
And
to.
can you give us the actual numbers of Kailicha people who are unemployed out of that 45%?
Thank you, member. You may take your seat.
Because the 22% is hiding the real truth.
Order, member. You've taken your turn.
See, the problem, Deputy Speaker, is these honourable members only read what Patel writes and they don't read the full report. Of course I know what that is, because we read the full Stats SA report. I said yes. So...
Order.
So, Mr. Deputy Speaker, we can all quote these kind of numbers. I mean, and we quote selectively quarter on quarter.
Order. Honourable Janchi, you don't waste the minister's time. It's another question.
Ask the Honourable MEC the question.
The minister can reply in the way he wants to reply. Please take your seat. Please take your seat. Is another minister?
He says yes.
Are you allowing another question?
He says yes.
The minister said no.
No, he says yes. Didn't you say yes? I'm asking you a question.
Order. Honourable Janki, take your seat. The minister has responded. Minister, you can continue. Minister Windy, your time is running out.
My time is running out. So, you know, we can selectively quote, but I dare the Honourable Patel or anyone in this House to debate the next quarter's numbers. I dare them, because seasonality, etc., will show them in the reverse, and we saw last time, but it's selectively quoting. But let's talk about one or two other things. We get told that these are national projects coming into our province, and we speak about the IDZ in Saldanha Bay. Now, it's quite interesting that if the Honourable Member Fransman remembers that time when the oil and gas program started, it was the time when he and Rasool, etc., were removed from office in this province by Lynn Brown and Mcebisi Squatcha, because they'd had enough of the brown envelopes and the corruption and the funny business with tenders, etc. They'd had enough of it. And even within the ANC, they decided to get rid of this crowd. I took over office from the previous MEC, which was Strachan. And he handed over the preliminary report on the IDZ. I then took that further. We got 9 million from national government, 10 million of the province's money, and then we did the final feasibility study. We have never denied that it's not been a national, provincial and local government project.
Order.
Never ever denied it. And at the moment, it is Westgrow that is leading the program in putting the new board in place. And it is that honourable member, if he remembers that time when he was thrown out of office, that was the time that we took over with this program. We ran with it, and he's the one that tried to hijack it. And he talks about what happened to the money. Ask him what happened to the money when that whole launch of the IDZ was turned into an ANC rally. Who paid for it? Who paid for that launch? The taxpayer, and they turned it into an ANC rally. I gather my time is up, Mr. Deputy Speaker.
The answer is
yes. So if I could end off...
Minister, you've got 20 seconds left.
If I can end off with a quote, as the Honourable Fransman ended off with a quote. And this quote is, and I'm going to do a bit of poetic justice on the end and add one line. The quote goes as follows, and you will all know who said this. If the ANC does to you what the apartheid government did to you, then you must do to the ANC what you did to the apartheid government.
Thank you.
And I add on to that...
Order. Order. Minister, please
conclude. And that's what the voters in this province have already done. They've thrown the ANC out in this province,
Order, Minister.
And it's for good cause.
Your time has expired. Order. Can we get order, please? Please come to order. Order. That concludes the... Please come to order. That concludes the speakers list. The Premier will reply to the debate after the resumption. The House will be suspended and the bells will be rung to indicate the resumption. Can I just, before we adjourn, remind our guests that tea and coffee will be served for them in the lounge at the back of the chamber. That brings us to the end. Business is suspended. The adjournment will be in about an hour, and the bells will be rung.